I used Ginkgotree in my blended English 205 business writing course with an enrollment of 25. I used Ginkgotree because I was required by my department to assign a textbook, and I wanted to find a way to reduce the cost to my students. The textbook sells for around $80 in the bookstore, so I felt it was worth it to help students save about 30 bucks. However, I found the most beneficial part of my experience to be the interactive elements in Ginkgotree that help to increase engagement and learning in my course. I completely removed the content area in D2L and replaced it with Ginkgotree, which means that I added all of my assignment sheets here as well as additional resources and content. I found that students had very little difficulty knowing where to go or how to access what they needed. I think it helped that I introduced Ginkgotree on the first day of class and showed them how to sign up and how to register. Overall, I had a very positive response to the tool. Here you can see a page from the required textbook as it looks in Ginkgotree. I use the annotation feature in Ginkgotree to draw students' attention to key concepts. In this case, I wanted them to make the link between the direct pattern of corresponding and the positive newsletter they were working on for that unit. The note on the right links to a concept in the reading to better make that connection. I also provided annotations for my assignment sheets. In the assignment shown above, I wanted students to remember to provide specific details from the prompt in their adjustment letters, which is something students in the past have often overlooked. Although I mentioned this in the face-to-face class, I think that having the annotation directly on the sheet reinforced the importance of that point. I use the annotation feature also as a way to ask questions of my students. Here, I asked students to respond to a specific passage in a recent New York Times article about how people of the college generation think about email. These short responses then paved the way for more formal conversations in the D2L discussions area and then in the classroom. I found that short student responses were an effective warm-up for more challenging thinking. Finally, I used the discussion area in Ginkgotree to compile responses from students as they were working through a piece of content. For example, I asked students to revisit 6 information literacy modules that they would have examined thoroughly in a previous writing course. I then asked them to give research advice from at least 3 of the modules that would help them and their fellow students with their final research reports. I viewed the resource itself as simply a refresher, but the students benefited even more from the collectively assembled list of suggested practices that they then referenced during the research phase later in the semester. Overall, I had a good experience with Ginkgotree and would recommend it to others who are trying to reduce costs for students while increasing engagement in their courses.